Hello and welcome to the Sunday night social. I almost said intro then with me, Graham Hughes, and Ed Kimberley, who is a counsellor down in Worcester.
Yes.
How's the Worcestershire sauce going down?
Oh, it's very spicy, Graham.
It's a spicy
Have I
sauce.
told you about the Restore branch meeting that happened recently?
Oh no, but hold that thought before we start talking about that. We've got a few guests coming in tonight. Hannah should be joining us later. I've got A. Thompson should be popping in to say hello and others. So yeah, stay tuned. But in the meantime, our wonderful friend Mike sends his regards, but he can't make it tonight because he's just moved to his new place and apparently the reception is awful. Also, he can't get any signal on his phone. Martin Harrow, Sarah Davis, Diz, Francis, Liam, Elle is going on, One Angry Pagan, and Saz in the chat. How are you all doing this evening? I hope you're all well. If you'd like to join our friends in the friendly chat, all you need to do is hit the subscribe button and wait for 1 minute, and you should be able to join it. But don't be a troll. That's the only what's it called? Rule.
That rules me out then. I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go.
Go on, tell us
Sorry.
about Restore, which is not to be confused with Reclaim or Reform or Rejoin
Advance
or
or Homeland
yeah,
or whichever. Oh, grief! There's just so many of them now.
Popular
So
People's Front of Judea.
yeah, it is very People's Front of Judea. Except that it's like, what have the Labour Party ever done for us? You know,
Yes.
apart from the 5 day working week. I mean, apart from that, I mean that goes without saying.
What about the aqueduct? Did we
Yeah.
ever get an aqueduct from the Labour Party? Don't
The
think so.
Labour Party, as far as I know, has not delivered a single aqueduct for Britain. Clearly, that is
Yes.
why Starmer's polling hasn't been as good as it should be. So
Yes.
get on it, lads.
Yeah.
Aqueduct time. Jokes aside, the Restore Britain have kicked off in Worcestershire recently and really kicked off in style.
Yeah.
They've had, as I gather, 2 meetings at this point, and both of them ended in violence. Like both of
Sorry,
them have ended.
what?
Yeah, both of them have apparently gone a bit mad. Like one of them
What?
involved people throwing bricks at each other in the car park, allegedly.
Sorry, and
Um,
this is which one is this? This is Restore.
this is Restore Britain.
Is
Yeah.
this Rupert Lowe's
Yeah, it's Rupert
latest
Lowe's lot. The people who
shenanigans?
basically want to out reform.
Oh
They
my
want to
god.
restore they want to restore, reform, or restorm, or whatever it is. But anyway,
Reset.
yeah, like they want to
Renaissance.
yeah. They just want to re something.
Yeah, we all want to read something.
Yeah.
Hey, talking of reading
Oh,
something, it's A Thompson. How you doing, Aid? Nice of you to drop by. No, we can't hear
yeah.
you. No. We gotta hear you. You gotta press. You're on mute, Grandad. You're on mute. Grandad, you're muted. No, you're still muted, Grandad.
You need to press
How's
the
that?
little
Is that better?
microphone
Press the
button. There
little
we go.
button. Hey,
There we
Hannah's
go.
here as well. See, as promised. Hey,
Hannah Spanner.
we've got Hannah and
Hello.
Aid on the show. It's the first time in a while.
Yeah.
Hello.
There you go.
Hello. I know you two can't stay for long, so I'm going to give you a
Yeah.
little bit of a platform tonight. But we were in the middle of being told. Can you both hear us okay, by the way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, good. We were just being told about there was a meetup of the Restore group.
Mm.
Rupert Lowe's political group in Worcester.
Yeah.
And it
Well,
ended in the car park with people throwing punches. And did you say bricks?
throwing bricks, apparently. That's the story.
Oh
That's
my
one
word.
of them.
Alex, Political X, hello.
Hey.
Nice to see you to pop along. Just to explain, because you might have just missed that, Ed was telling us about a meetup of the Restore lot, right, in Worcester that ended with them in the car park throwing bricks at each other.
As you do, apparently.
Yeah, go on, tell us. So,
Yeah,
how did this come about, Ed?
So I don't
Quickly.
know I don't know the full details of that first incident. I do know a bit more about one of the other ones where they ended up calling the police on themselves over in Badsea. So it's like they
Right.
fell out with each other, and they're trying to say, oh, lefty infiltrators, reform infiltrators. They can't quite work out who they've been infiltrated by, but they're quite sure that they
Yeah.
are traitors. They're quite sure they're bad news. And yeah, they called the police on each other. It seemed like 2 sets of them having fallen out with each other. It's like, hello, police. Yeah, this lot are being jerks. You need to come with your blue lights
So
on.
these are the offshoot from Refuck. who were the
Mm.
offshoot from UKIP, because UKIP, and there was a National Front, then it was UKIP, then I'm losing. So this is like a splinter group of a splinter group of a splinter group, and now that's splintered as well.
I mean, the thing you've got to get about the far right is that they rebrand constantly, and you can kind of see why when you see the stuff they get up to. They've constantly kind of got to dissociate from the last crazy thing they did. And this is going to be no different. Like, give it another couple of years and they'll change their name again.
Well, I'm glad that they're taking loads of votes off Reform in Makerfield at the moment. So, Aid, to you first. How you doing, mate? You all right? You're a bit knackered after a long week.
I'm absolutely bushed. End of half term, and then we've capped it off with like this long river walk today, and I'm just absolutely wiped.
Was it the Amazon? Was it the Nile?
Because it was the Thames.
It was the Thames. Oh, that's a fair.
It was the Thames.
Walk. Did you walk the whole length?
No. It feels like I did though with my delicate IT guy legs. I don't have the muscle or the stamina for any of this nonsense. Like by about a quarter of the way through, I was like, "Oh, should we sit down or should we head back?" Everyone else is like, "No.
We just got here.
For a long one.
Got him a minute ago."
I'm like, "Oh, wicked."
Yeah, I know the.
And then
feeling.
we stopped and we got a pub lunch.
Oh, fantastic!
And I thought I'll get something beefy. I'll get something like, like with some substance to it. So I ordered bangers and mash, and this piddly little bangers and mash came out.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck is that? Like, how, this is not going to keep me going.
Did you
like, so
I
felt
at your server. Did you say, what the how dare you?
That wasn't,
did you go full
that wasn't
James
the thing
Corden on
maybe. No, but then my missus ordered a Caesar salad, which they messed up the order for, and they brought her out like a tiny side salad. Yeah. And I could have exploded at that point. Like, when you haven't made the mistake, like I didn't order the wrong salad. I ordered the right one. They messed it up. But when you're going to get the blame for it, like somehow this is my fault. So there was a bit of that. It's been a rough day, Gray.
Okay. I'm sorry. Well, we're going to soothe you, and I'll come to Hannah in a moment. But that bit in Spider-Man where he has the choice whether to save the people in the bus or he can save his girlfriend, and he somehow manages to save both.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Alex, Aid, I've done that for you guys today. I've booked tickets. I'm going to go down to London in the morning to go to the Rejoin March with you, Alex.
Yep.
I'm going to march with you and Femi and our other friends, Peter Core, etc. And then at 4:00, I'm getting the train to Liverpool, straight to the pub, straight to the Jacaranda to go and meet with Aid for a drink. So I'm gonna satisfy you both. Hey. A man has two hands, as my granddad.
If anyone can do that amount of traveling in one day and satisfy everyone, it's you. Great.
Yes, and have a drink at the end of it. So it should be fun. Hannah, how you been? We haven't seen you for a while.
Good. Work is busy. I had a bit of a traumatic event this week. I think I have told Aid and G already. I had to perform CPR on someone at a wedding on Monday.
Oh, Jesus.
So I would like to use this opportunity to get on my soapbox and talk about the importance of learning first aid, because this man was having a heart attack. It was, in fact, a member of the groom's party. I didn't know who it was at the time, which is worse, I feel. So I'm like, I don't know who this is, to my friend who is the bride. And people freeze. You never know what you're going to do. He had a heart attack. We heard yelling for help. Me and one of my other work friends went running. The bride, we now know, later heard me screaming at the staff to call an ambulance. And within a split second, could see he was blue, and I just jumped on him. But it was lucky that I knew what to do, because everyone in the room had frozen. And I didn't even know, maybe I would have frozen next time, but it took a split second. My friend's looking at me, I'm looking at her, and I'm thinking, it's going to be me, isn't it? But it was lucky, not for him, obviously, but a few months ago, we'd had a heart attack in the studio. And although I had previous first aid training years ago, my best friend, as you guys may know, does air ambulance. She's a critical care paramedic.
Yeah.
So not only am I around sort of medical conversations, but after our friend in the studio had his heart attack, I wasn't present that day, but I then went and brushed up on my skills. Even to the point of, I don't know whether the staff had training or not, who knows, because sometimes you just panic. But even when the defib was brought, one of the girls looked at me and was like, what now? And I was like, open it, it will start to talk to you. They're really user friendly.
Yeah.
And if you are running a business or you work in a building that you know doesn't have one, they only cost £2,000 and they can save lives. And it's much more helpful to have one if you can, and try and get, you know, multiple people knowing how to deliver first aid. It is different on children, it is different on babies, and it is different on adult humans. It's obviously not a very nice thing to have to do to someone. It's a lot more violent than you think it is, but it's really worth having the skills and brushing up if you've maybe done some training before.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. So did he survive?
No.
Sorry.
So yeah, I mean, all the family's okay. Obviously, it was the worst bit, I think, for me was that me and one of my colleagues who were obviously performing the CPR, we had half an hour to get ready and go sit in the ceremony, and we didn't know who knew, and I didn't get told. So I got back on Tuesday, had the wedding breakfast the next morning. I didn't hear until Wednesday that we definitely know that everyone knows what's happened. And that's when the bride, who's a really good friend of mine, contacted me and was like, I thought you were a bit weird. And then obviously I got a really lovely message from the groom because it was his uncle. They've been really supportive. Obviously everyone's been checking in. That's really lovely. But it's a really handy skill to have. And unfortunately, it's like, so the thing with CPR is it buys time, because what you're doing, the chest compressions are to pump the residual blood from the heart, which has some oxygen in it, around to your internal organs, your vital organs. You won't necessarily bring them back by doing that, but you're allowing time for other, you know, more advanced cardiac people to come in and be able to work on them and administer things like drugs. So it's a really good skill to have, especially if you have kids, because choking's a big one. Things like that. That can be scary if you're doing baby-led weaning or anything like that. That's really frightening. So yeah, if I could implore people, you don't think it's going to happen to you, I would rather it have been me in that room because I knew what to do than one of the other girls who were, you know, floating around that were quite a bit younger that probably would be completely traumatized. So it's a really, I would just, if you can, then
100%.
I would, do it.
The FA do really good courses for next to nothing. The English Football Association, don't know about the others because I've never done them, but I wouldn't surprise me if they're all the same, but they're pretty cheap, low cost.
Yeah. I mean, even if you've got someone in your life, so I wouldn't necessarily go and get certified now because I've got a really good friend who's a medical professional. So she will give me a top up and, you know, and that's kind of how I do it. So if you've got nurse friends or anyone else who's in that kind of realm, that's also a good thing, because I know that, you know, not a lot of us have money to spare these days. So if you've got friends or relatives that have those skills, that have to use them, and you think would be good to teach you, then that's also a way of getting to understand, even if it's just like really basic things.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been my week. It was Dad's birthday today and we went for a pub lunch and that was lovely.
Oh, nice. So at least two of us have had the pub lunch today. I'm very jealous.
Yeah. How was did you get bangers and mash?
I did not. I got a nut roast because I'm a vegetarian. So
oh, of course. Yeah.
And it was decent.
You insensitive bastard.
I would have rather had a nut roast than this.
Do you know what though?
Terrible meal,
Hannah, you mentioned about giving CPR. I read somewhere that people are less likely to give women CPR when they're suffering from a heart attack because they don't want to open the blouse or whatever. And also, I believe there's very few CPR dummies that people practice on that have got female style.
Yeah.
What are they called?
It is unfortunately true. I mean, I know it's a problem here because I also, as you can imagine, I went searching for information of all kinds after that.
Yeah.
Not a lot of men don't want to do it to women because they have breast tissue and you might have to, like, we had to cut off his clothes. So there is that kind of stuff, especially if you're placing things like defib, because one of the patches has to go right under the armpit. So you need access to skin. And obviously in today's day and age, like, people are very nervous of inappropriate touching of things. But I would hope that for most people, that wouldn't stop them from trying, because that's the most important thing. I don't think if someone wakes up with a few cracked ribs, they're going to go, you definitely had to take my clothes off for that. Do you know what I mean? But I know that it's particularly a big problem in America because people will sue for things like breaking ribs. That's really common in CPR if you're doing it properly, because you have to go 2 or 3 inches deep. You're trying to get close to the heart, and your rib cage is meant to protect it. So I think much
They
bigger
sue
problem
for that in the States.
Yeah.
Huge thing.
Alex, I saw a video the other day from a courtroom. You know, they film all the courtrooms in America.
Yeah.
And it was a guy suing the medic who had given him CPR and saved his life because he had a tattoo that said DNR on him. And he was trying to say that, well, that stood for do not resuscitate. And that the medic took, he decided he was God or something. He could decide. And it's like, the judge said, I'm throwing this out because this is ridiculous. How is he supposed to know that? You're supposed to make a contract, and even if you do that, you know, the medic's job is to save people's lives. He was just doing his job, and like DNR could be the name of a band that you like. Who knows? Yeah, it's like
that's wild.
And he was trying to sue for something like $200,000. I was just like, how dare this man save my life?
Ridiculous.
Isn't that like wasn't there a similar story? Well, it's not that similar, but in the same genre, say, of unhappily still alive. There was a kid. Wasn't there a kid who sued his parents like for conceiving him?
I thought I'd seen something like that as well.
In America.
But I didn't ask to be born.
Yeah, he didn't ask to be born. But then didn't he run off into a cult afterwards as well?
I mean, if you're going to sue folks for existing.
For existing, you didn't give me permission, which
Anything's
is like
on the table.
Slightly true, but also insane.
Talking of insanity, can I just
wait? Can I just get this out? So I like the idea that's just sort of reached my mind is like, what if he tries to sue his parents for existing? Like, I never asked to be born, and then in response to that, the parents are like, do you know what, you insolent little. And then they've shipped him off to a cult. He joined the cult. He's off. He didn't want to exist. So, yeah.
I feel like the correct response is the usual parents thing, isn't it? I brought you into this world. I can take you out of it.
Well, talking of insane cults, how does everyone feel about the front lawn of the White House this week? I'm guessing you've all seen the pictures. The face on Hannah is a picture.
I might have missed this. What is it? The scars he's got on his face?
No, the White House, the
lawn.
On the lawn, they've built a massive UFC fighting cage.
Oh God!
With like stands around it.
What?
And right next to it is the building site where they tore down the East Wing, and the whole place just looks like. It looks like My Name Is Earl. It just looks like My Name Is Earl.
Oh, ye gods, I've just seen the pictures.
I mean, come
This
on.
isn't alcohol, but I'm really wishing right now.
Come on, like, is no one going to stop him? Is no one going to say, no, that's enough? That's enough. Just...
I would have thought, like, even if they don't disagree with what he's doing at the moment, I feel like just for like future recourse, when the Democrats do at some point regain power and they do something very slightly unpresidential, just to be able to arm yourself with something to attack them with, you would think that now they would go, whoa, hold on a second, Donny, just wind it down a little bit. This is all getting a little bit crazy. And what are they going to do like next time? Let's say Kamala Harris runs again and she becomes president, or like Gavin Newsom, and they put a step out of sync with what is expected of a president. They won't be able to say anything. Like, they won't be able to go, oh, that's not really presidential, or it's not or it's beneath the office, or it like be like, you sold Teslas on the front lawn of the White House. You had a UFC thing here. What are you talking about? Like, they've robbed each other of any recourse for the next like 20 years.
It does only work if you have logic.
Well,
or
yeah,
an IQ over a certain level.
If you live in reality.
This is fucking meaningless. They'll just say whatever they want. Because they were saying this about Clinton and all his ethics and morals and Monica Lewinsky. And now they just go, yeah, it's Trump. It's fine. We just care about his policies.
I think it bears saying that, that for all of this, the irony of this is we're a bunch of British people talking about the Americans destroying the White House. Like, that's our job, mates.
1812 shall rise again.
all I could think when I saw that picture of all the cranes and stuff out the front and the trashed East Wing was like, that's how it would have looked on September the 12th if United Flight 93 had made it to its destination. Why did those passengers fight back for it to crash in a field in Pennsylvania when Trump was going to just do that anyway? It's just everything he does is just horrible. It's just absolutely horrible.
Proof positive that we're in like horseshoe politics. Like the Republicans fought back against like the Taliban and the Saudi hijackers and stuff. And actually, if you wait around for long enough, the Republicans are totally fine with destroying the White House.
The hijackers. Yeah. Well, Trump was made up when 9/11 happened. You know, he bragged about the fact that his tower was now the tallest building in New York again.
That's a piece of shit.
He was like, "Well, look on the bright side."
Look,
I just watching this footage going, "Oh my god."
You talk about horseshoe politics. It's like, well, on the one hand, you've got a group of religious zealots with ultra-conservative views that are about repressing women. And on the other hand, you've got the Taliban.
Yeah. I did a whole thing on the podcast like a few weeks ago. Hey, Phil.
Hey, Phil.
Phil,
hello.
Did a whole thing.
Do you need to use your Zoom?
What?
Do you need to use your Zoom?
No.
Oh, thank God for that. I thought you were going to kick us all off.
I'm just stuck in London, bored.
Okay, hello.
Outside is swarming with Arsenal fans, so I can't even go out for dinner.
What's that? It's swarming with arseholes. What? Well, it is London, mate.
Fans. I've got no issue with Arsenal fans, but there are rather a lot of them.
Oh, because they're celebrating winning the league, but also losing the Champions League. You can't win them all.
You can't. Well, no, you can't.
They lost on
one's
penalties.
Fine. One's more than enough. Like, I'm a Newcastle fan. We're just pleased if we win the odd game.
I'm an Everton. I'm the same, mate. This is why I don't think that Wayne's going to be with us tonight. And if he does turn up, I think we should say he's going to be wasted.
You know what I saw earlier on in this sea of red and white? Yeah. Was there's this lad in a claret top, and I thought this is a lone West Ham fan, but it wasn't. It were an Arsenal shirt, just obviously some limited edition Arsenal shirt. He's obviously out there taking the piss.
Chris wants to know how you can be stuck in London and be bored, Phil.
Because like, what am I supposed to do?
Go out clubbing.
Like, the event I'm here for doesn't start till tomorrow.
Somebody take Phil clubbing. Is there anyone in the live chat that is in London?
The only clubs I ever enjoyed, even when I was young, were like 80s nights. And even that was when I was young. I won't want to even do that anymore. Everything else was bollocks.
Not even a little bit?
I don't like crowds. This is why I'm not out there trying to find food, because it's like everywhere's just full of Arsenal fans. I've got no issue with Arsenal fans. They're very nice. They're very friendly. But I just don't do with crowds.
They robbed all the pasties.
Yeah. I keep hearing tourists keep telling us that the nightlife's knackered. So I should be able to go out there, right, and find some dingy restaurant with no customers and just go straight in and get served. But that's not what's happening out there. It's all full. Lying tourists.
Hilgava says, I knew I liked Phil for a reason if he supports Newcastle. So there you go. Fellow Newcastle fan. Fan of the tune. There's someone was selling an Arsenal pencil case half price. It was missing 2 pens.
Very good. Yes. Very good.
Just full disclosure, I know nothing about Arsenal or football or pens or anything. I'm totally lost.
They lost last night on penalties.
Oh,
they're a football
right.
team. They're a football team. Hey, they play football.
They got like a goal in the first 6 minutes or something, and then neglected to just stick every player in front of their own goal.
Right.
Yeah, they didn't play a very good game. But there you go. There you go. Sorry, Phil. We were just talking about what Trump has done to the White House lawn.
It's the least of our problems, isn't it? Isn't that the least offensive thing is done?
Ed was telling us at the top of the show that Restore, you know, Ed, what's his name? Rupert Lowe's outfit in Worcester were having like a fight in the car park and ended up throwing bricks at each other.
Just as you do.
Well, that's one way to get rid of them. They can thin their own ranks out. That's not a problem.
There were 2 meetings where they ended up falling out with each other and getting violent with each other, or so I'm told. Like there was one in Badsea, and they just called the police on themselves.
I mean,
At
all
least
this
they're good
is,
judges of character, then.
It's just, I mean, it's a more violent version of it. But this is what I've seen in politics all my life on the left, the circular firing squad. It's just that they're just doing it a bit more aggressively.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
So yeah, what else has been happening this week? I've been busy. I've been live streaming and not paying attention to the news.
I've had to do 4 days worth of videos in advance. I've got all the way up to Wednesday done.
Have you had to guess what's going to happen over the next few days?
No, I just developed a series of like evergreen stuff that the news can't possibly screw up.
What if
half a chance, Phil? Give him half a chance.
What's that? Am I just reading that Nigel Farage resigned?
Oh, brilliant.
Oh, that's fine.
And he fell off a cliff.
Actually, okay. That would sort of screw over at least 2 of the videos.
It's your fault, Phil. It's your fault.
I won't complain.
I
don't wish death upon him.
No.
If someone wants to arrest him and put him in prison or something, that's fine.
I saw Farage's voting record. He hasn't been there, has he? For like months. He hasn't voted or anything.
Something like 3 months.
And he hasn't been to his constituency.
I mean, to be fair, he might have turned up to the bar. That don't get logged.
Yeah.
Has there been any polling in Makerfield since all the stuff came out with Rob Kenyon and all his crazy?
There's not a lot of point, but no, I've only seen one constituency poll.
What's your
feeling? That was before all the crazy stuff came out.
What's your feeling on it, Phil? Is Andy Burnham going to walk it, or do you think it's going to be very close?
I don't think. I mean, I hope it does. It could be like. I mean, we've got to remember it's very difficult with constituencies. Gordon and Denton on the day, like, never mind mugs like us. Experts were saying it could go any of 3 ways, and then the Greens did walk it. So it could be the same thing. What I do think is Restore Britain are out in force. It doesn't necessarily mean that they'll get loads of votes, but if they get like 5% or something, that arguably screws over Reform UK. And in a tight contest, Burnham could look like he's walked it a bit.
Yeah. Do you not think that
if the Greens are going a bit, modest on it?
Seems like it. Don't you think all the stuff that Rob's come out with and all the bad interviews he's done is just going to smash him up? Because everyone's just going to go, "You're not." I mean, he's Andrew.
As long as they've seen it. If they've seen it,
that's the question, isn't it?
It's difficult to know.
I mean, through the letterboxes,
exactly.
Or onto the TV screens.
I mean, a lot of what I find amazing is a lot of those people are voting for Nigel Farage, and yet he's not there campaigning. He's hiding.
There's some literature that I've seen which has been sort of like come from Makerfield, and Nigel Farage is the only name mentioned on it. They don't even mention Robert Kenyon. He's sort of squirreled away in the bottom right corner.
I mean, this is I mean, to be honest, if you've got a popular leader, that's what you do anyway. But it is a personality cult, which is why if Farage does have to step back for health or other reasons, like there's a reason he's not campaigning in Makerfield. It's either because he was up and down the country last month campaigning. He was well, mostly it was in April, of course, and he is in his 60s and a heavy drinker and smoker. So he may actually just genuinely be unwell, like not unfit. But I mean, you'd expect him to get out for the odd day. So what is more likely, as far as I'm concerned, is his poll rating, his personal poll rating has tanked over the last couple of months. I'm wondering if this 5 million quid is causing him more problems than he would like.
Yeah,
did you see
should have just shut up about it.
Did you see the tweet that was doing the rounds about 2 or 3 days ago, where somebody said, and look, I don't know if this is verified information, but I thought it was really interesting. It was somebody saying, hearing from sources within Reform that Nigel Farage is conceding that the 5 million quid, the 1.4 million pound house, the Russian hack stuff is going to snowball, and there's not like there's more to come out, and he's probably going to have to step down as leader. And it got shared by a prominent journalist. I can't remember who it was now, because I remember looking at the account that said it, and I was like, I don't recognize that one. It was like a sort of a little indie journalist thing. But given since then and the weeks preceding, he has been AWOL largely, and somebody as publicity hungry as him, it does make me think like maybe there is more to come out. Maybe he is about to get.
There's definitely more to come out. See, I'll tell you what I'm wondering now is incredibly stupid if this is what's happened, right? You remember to Partygate, right? So what happened with Partygate? First of all, someone was sat on that for ages, right? And it didn't come out. Owen Paterson scandal, Boris Johnson's weekend comes out, right? It was obviously designed to come out at a time when he was vulnerable. but then they just release a little bit. Boris Johnson tells a lies that fits the facts, then they release a little bit more that calls it out. Then he tells some more lies. Same thing may have happened. Now, let us imagine that someone is sitting on emails. Now, I would have thought, surely, whatever arrangement Harbin had with Farage for that £5 million was purely verbal and purely private. But let us imagine there's an email, and let us imagine someone's got it. And let us imagine Farage realizes, having been hacked, that someone's got it.
Have you seen the stuff about Orban's suitcase from Nathan Gill, Nathan Gill's old Twitter account?
Tell us.
Where he says to Farage on Twitter, he's like responding back to Farage, throwing him under the bus. He says something like, well, that's really interesting, Nigel. Would you like me to talk about Orban's suitcase? It'll all come out at sentencing or something like that. Anyway, it didn't come out at sentencing as far as I know, and it's completely disappeared. But I think was it Carol Codwalla, or maybe it was, I can't remember who it was now. I was sharing it like last week. I was like, this is the first I've heard of this. Orban's suitcase.
Well,
how dodgy does this get? You know, and particularly if it's Orban, because he was so Putin adjacent, right? So if Putin was to funnel money to Orban and it was to be used for Farage and this party, it would be explosive.
He was, because he was doing it through, I think it's Empol, who were then financed, which is like a Hungarian company that had 10% of its earnings or assets in Russian oil, or was making 10% of its earnings through Russian oil. And then they were knocking it to MCC, which is this think tank group in Hungary that was clearly run by Orban, and then it was funneling money to, like, I think Matt Goodwin got 5K
Matt Goodwin
or something.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though.
There's a lot of that.
I'll tell you what. I mean, I'd like to have £5 million problem.
Yeah.
All things being equal, I'd be like, yeah, cool. That sounds like an awful
I never understand why these people don't just take the money and run. Like, maybe it says something about my character. I would take the 5 million and.
Yeah, but he has to keep making money because he has he has very expensive tastes. He spends money like he's very similar to Boris Johnson. Always on the grift, always begging his friends and family and anyone who's ever met him for money because he has a certain standard of living that.
That's as good a time as
by his own, Go on, sorry.
That's as good a time as any to ask people to definitely drop a super chat and a super thanks into Gray.
You don't. If you're a Thai crypto bro, maybe don't.
I've got to run it. I've got to go.
Hey, thank you so much for dropping in, mate. You take care.
Take care, guys. All the best. Bye.
Bye.
We've only got Hannah for another sort of 10 minutes or so. So, Hannah, I just want to bring you back into the conversation a little bit. Have you heard anything about this local election in Makerfield or what's happening with it?
Not really.
I've been cold.
Full hermit, really, for me.
I guess to sort of sum it up, we've got Andy Burnham, who could be our next Prime Minister, and he's running in a by-election. And the guy he's running against he's like the worst. And loads of his messages on Facebook and Twitter, which have been deleted, by the way, and he was actually kicked off Twitter a couple of years ago.
Twice.
You've got to put pretty bad stuff on there. But one of the people that he went after was Carol Vorderman, and he said something really someone else said something really inappropriate, and he said, they're just saying what we're all thinking. And like, of all the people that you might consider going after. Carol is not that. Like, what are you do? What, you fucking idiot?
No, because she will bite back, won't she?
She has. She sent a letter to every resident in Makerfield. It's been delivered to everyone, explaining just all the horrible things that he said about women. He said that women use abortion as birth control. He said that women shouldn't be referees. He said that women can't drive. All this, and what he said about Carol in particular. And she sent it off to every house.
Wait. So was that not Hope Not Hate with Carol? Or was that a separate thing? Was that Carol doing one thing and Hope Not Hate doing another?
I don't know.
Don't matter, does it? Everyone's saying it.
Yeah.
Everyone that can read, maybe not reform voters, but still.
We got some super chats there. That was good of Aid there to say, yeah, that was a good chat to throw in some fan funding. First of all, we had Francis Winrow right at the top of the show. Thank you very much. We had Yuri, who's been a member now for 30 months. Well done, mate. Who said,
Hey.
I will pass on your booze to Aid, okay? And then we've got Richard. It's £10 super chat there. Sunday donation for Dizz's confetti addiction. I love when people drop money in and they blame Diz. They say, "Oh, it's all Dizz's fault. I'm giving you money." So thank you, Diz, for encouraging people to drop some money in. And Sophia Lance 72 with a fiver saying, "Here's 5 million." Well, 0.0001% of it. So thank you very much. I will declare that. I will make that a matter of public record. Yeah, there's a Labour MP who has referred this matter to the police because is it Anna Turley?
Anna Turley, yeah, the chair.
She's the Labour chair, Labour Party chair, and she's reported it to the police because Farage has said that the Russians hacked him, and the Russians hacking a sitting member of the British Parliament is really serious.
Well, especially as the implication would be if they can hack him, they'd hack Labour ministers as well. So it's like this is national security. So that's the thing that if you've got evidence of MPs being hacked, we need to see it because we've got MPs as well, you know.
Yeah.
Of course, there's no evidence though, is there? That's the other thing.
Literally every security expert has said this is bollocks.
But also, I think it goes to the point, like, would you, if you assume this is a lie and you assume there's no evidence and he's not going to come forwards with it, the fact he's come out with a lie like this raises huge questions about his suitability to office. Like, what happens if imagine that weird scenario and Nigel Farage walks into number 10 as the Prime Minister. What foreign state is going to be able to do business with Britain if it's a country led by someone who will just make stuff up about foreign intelligence services?
Hasn't really stopped Donald Trump.
Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Oh, true, but we're not America.
It's not like we haven't seen it already happen.
No, but we're not America. Like, the world kind of has to put, to an extent, like the world has put up with Trump because America's so big, whereas with Britain, they can just cut us off.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
It's all a bit grim, isn't it? But there's been some
Brexit bonus
shit going down in the Middle East as well. Israel's decided that's going to literally invade Lebanon this evening. I don't know if you've seen that in the news. They've literally invaded on the ground. This isn't just dropping bombs from miles away.
He's just doing it so he doesn't get nicked, isn't he?
Yes.
Like, this is arguably the same shit Trump's trying to
He's a wanted criminal in his own country. He's a wanted war criminal in The Hague. He's double wanted. Actually, he's not wanted, but he's but yeah, just the things that evil men will do to hold on to power. And I don't know if you've been following what's been happening in the States, but a lot of the court cases about the gerrymandering over there, it's gone the way of the Republicans. Surprise, surprise. So all the times that the Republicans have redrawn the districts to make sure that, that they draw a line around all their people and then just add a few Democrats in there whose votes won't be worth anything. That's all good. And all the times that the Democrats have done it, no, you can't do that. That's all bad.
It got worse, though, because the judge this week said that what was it? It was the voting system. The postal voting system was going to be limited. He was allowing it to go through. He wasn't going to stop Trump from doing it. But then I think he also suggested that it would be down to the post office, which I thought was really weird in terms of how you organize and control it. But I think there's also a list of people that they're going to create who can and cannot do postal voting. Yeah. Which is just what the hell? But then, did you see Elon Musk's ex-partner come out and throw him under the bus?
Which one?
Yeah, which one?
Which one? She worked with Benny Johnson, and I can picture her, and the name will come to me at some point. But
not Grimes, not the one he has kids with.
Grimes? No, not Grimes. No. American. Grimes is British, isn't she?
Don't know. Not my kind of music.
But she came out throwing him under the bus, and she was questioning how Elon had claimed at 3 a.m. he knew the election result before anyone else and declared Trump. And she's like, I've worked in the electoral system in the United States. There's no way anyone could do that. And yet his prediction was correct. Because apparently he left Mar-a-Lago at 3 a.m. So she's like, what is going on here?
Yeah, that's a bit sus.
Well,
it's very, very sus. But I don't get how he did it. That's the other thing. What system would he have had in place to be able to do something along those lines? I don't know.
Talking of Elon Musk and that other creep, what's his name? Jeff Bezos, both have rockets blow up this week worth billions, literally just explode. One on landing and the other one it exploded in Cape Canaveral, actually. A huge explosion, more energy pushed into the atmosphere, more CO2, more.
Can I take a moment to just salute the billionaires of the world for having an unparalleled ability to set fire to piles of their own money, like with AI, this massive furnace that is burning their own money. And
it's better than other
people's. This is American money. This is they've got government contracts. These rockets.
Oh, true. All right. Okay, they're burning money.
American taxpayers are paid for it.
They're burning money. Is my point. They're burning money, and it is a talent they do in fact have.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, if you want to give me money to build a rocket that blows up on launch, I could do that.
Tell you what, though, this they've got to float SpaceX and Anthropic and ChatGPT are all getting floated, aren't they? On the London, the New York NASDAQ, I think, and they've done a deal with the people who have NASDAQ and they run the NASDAQ, sorry. And normally a new company, when it's floated, has to, so that anyone can buy shares in it up to a certain amount. Normally they have to wait 6 months to make sure that they're stable and they're not just gonna be here today, gone tomorrow, before they allow these stockbrokers like BlackRock who buy a few shares in each company in the FTSE 100 and on the NASDAQ and on the Dow Jones and everything. They buy a little bit of a lot of companies instead of putting all the eggs in one basket. And that's an automatic system. And it usually takes 6 months to kick in. Well, all of the tech pros have done a deal with NASDAQ to say, let us do that from the start. So a lot of people's pension funds and things like that, and if people got investments like Nutmeg or something, it'll automatically go into these shares and push the value up. And they're valuing them at like over $1 trillion. And these companies don't make any money. In fact, they lose money. And and compared to companies that have really established like Coca-Cola and Ford and even like things like Microsoft and Apple, it's like
Games Workshop.
Yeah. Where are you getting this idea that this is worth so much from? And this everyone keeps talking about the not the .com, what's it called now? The AI bubble bursting.
There's a lot of problems with it. Do you see the river in San Diego's dried out?
No.
And they reckon they're blaming the servers for the AI systems. I think
down
it's
in California, in Southern California.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Because it uses loads of water as well as loads of energy. Is that right?
It's all the data centers, isn't it? They require a lot of water to keep them cool, so that they continue to run.
Oh my God.
We love that for the environment. Yay.
Yeah, take that, environment.
And stealing our jobs. Yay.
So stealing our jobs and then ruining the environment we live in. What's that? But then apparently a broken down White House and a UFC ring.
But it seems like the only way that this whole industry is staying afloat is by taking in lots and lots of capital, lots of investments, lots of sort of money that's keeping it afloat. But it's not actually paying for itself. Like once it actually has to try and wash its own face, it won't be able to.
Yeah.
And it's sort of... It's hard to see how you make the mathematics of that work. I can sort of see like there are certain niche applications for AI where you can see the use of it, like in military, self-piloting drones and whatever. As nightmarish a concept as that is, you can see a use case for it. But there are so few niches that they have actually found for it versus the cost. I mean, was it Sora, where they had this video generator, which was burning hundreds of dollars per video to generate, and then returning no revenue, and eventually just had to fold the whole thing up because it wasn't viable.
And users on average had like 100 videos to get the one that they wanted, which still looks shit.
Yeah, but the reason why it might not burst though is because the people paying into this. Like, if you've got people in their 20s and 30s and they're on a good wage and they're putting money into investments, and they look at how stock markets work, and they're saving for 20 or they're investing for 20 or 30 years in the future, so they don't care about the return now. They only care because they're not going to touch it. They're just putting more and more money in, and so this is why it's there's some people think it's not actually that likely that there will necessarily be a burst as such. Although I know one of the members of the Bank of England's policy committee thinks that the stock market in general is overvalued, and there will be a correction in the next couple of years. But even then, I was reading this fella who's a long-term investor who's writing in the Financial Times a few weeks ago, and he was saying, like, if we think now we're still suffering from the banking crisis, like in all Western countries, people are still suffering from the banking crisis. And he was saying investors, they got over it after 2 years. Yeah. You know, their investments, the arse fell out of them, and it was, it's still terrible. It was only terrible if you needed that money at that time. If you were just retiring, then it was bad timing. Yeah. You just wait another couple of years, it was all back again. And then 5 years later, you were never richer.
Yeah. We've got some super chats come in. First of all, I just want to give a shout out to Blah Blah CW for being a member of the channel for 12 months, 1 year. This is your 1 year anniversary. Yay. And Blah Blah says, evening all. Evening. And Martin Harrow, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. What popped out, Diz? I don't know what people are talking about there, but apparently something popped out. Chris C, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Netanyahu has also ordered the IDF to seize 70% of Gaza. Yeah, that's true. I read that this week. Violating the ceasefire, and America sits back and allows the genocidal madman to continue. Well, they've got a genocidal madman in charge of their country as well. So there you go. Lunatics who just do not care. They have no decency. They have no decency, no honor, no respect. Not just terrible, terrible human beings. Trump and Netanyahu.
I think it was always going to happen because I reckon they're going to put an equivalent to the Suez Canal along the Egyptian, soon-to-be Israeli border. Mm-hmm. That's why they didn't want Gaza having it, because if Gaza had it, that would have been a massive revenue source.
I really doubt that Saudi Arabia would permit that, though.
I think that's why they've built the line and the huge offshore stuff.
You mean
yeah.
They sacked that off, didn't they, in Saudi Arabia?
But even if they didn't build the line, it was all the other stuff around it. They've got a huge tech development offshore.
Yeah, and the idea was they were trying to move.
So I'm pretty sure once they've got that up and running, and they've got the manufacturing and they've got the line, the idea is then to knock through into the Mediterranean. It would be the obvious thing to do if they chuck in their money with Israel. Yeah, it's all flat. If you look at it on a map, it's pretty flat territory. Especially once you get through, when I looked at it, it was pretty mountainous near the river, but there were parts which came straight into Israel. But it then had to run parallel with.
Are you talking about the Sinai Peninsula?
Yeah,
because that's not flat. It's called it's called the Sinai Peninsula.
No, sorry, not the Sinai. The Sinai Peninsula is south.
There's a wonderful picture of me when I was 20 years old at the top of Mount Sinai holding a pack of tablets.
I'm sure it wasn't Bolivia.
It's a little biblical joke there. Anyway, before we go on, Alex, Yuri Infectinov, £2 super chat. I'm surprised that Trump hasn't set up a KFC ring. A KFC. But he was part of a paedophile ring, and now he set up a UFC ring. So yeah, maybe he'll get some onion rings with that. And also that allowed us to trigger the confetti cannon. So 3, 2, 1, confetti! Yay! Confetti! Woo! Thanks to everyone who's chipped in this evening. But yeah, what's going on in America right now? I'm just laughing now. I can't be worried. I can't be concerned anymore. My milk of human kindness has run out. I'm just going to sit back and laugh.
Do you know what?
Scary.
It's very scary. I think if he loses the midterms and he's trying to rig it as much as he can, I'm pretty sure if he thinks he's going to get impeached and it's a white, I mean, Texas is crazy.
He won't get impeached.
Yeah.
He can't get
you don't think so? You don't think they'll do the 60?
They can't.
Was it 60 or 75% in the Senate?
Yeah. You need 60, don't you? Either way, there'll not be the numbers for that. The best that can happen with the Senate is the Democrats just take control, which shouldn't have been possible 12 months ago. I mean, it was always about the House the House of Representatives. The Senate was supposed to be no, you not get that, but now it is actually possible.
But it's always that thing.
That still doesn't mean he say he won't do anything really stupid.
Well, that's the thing. Everyone hated him when he left office because
his own brain will impeach him. And his own brain will take him out.
I mean, impeachment's different, but I always thought he was going to do it because he's just got. It's like Farage. He's got foot and mouth disease. I said Farage will mess this up because his whole party's got foot and mouth disease. Their best candidate is Rob Kenyon, and he's just like. I think he's even more extreme than Andrew Tate. I think he's got more extreme views on abortion than Andrew Tate.
I think
and so they put Andrew Tate up, basically.
One of the worst things that could happen to Reform UK is he actually becomes an MP because the stuff he'll come out with will make Sarah Poachin look like Mother Teresa.
Oh God, Sarah Poachin, she did something mad this week. She did a video where she said, "Oh, I've helped this member of my constituency. I've helped this constituent who was really struggling, and I've helped to sort out a house and something accommodation for her son. Blah blah blah. Aren't I great?" They had to take the video down after half an hour when someone pointed out that the woman in question in the video was notorious as Britain's biggest benefit cheat. A woman who had scammed hundreds of thousands of pounds out of the benefit system. And Sarah Poachin's like, "Oh, I just like to help all my constituents." No one did a background check. And apparently Halton Council's like, "We don't know anything about this." And they would have been in charge of, sorting out housing for someone, not the MP.
Well, the MP can help because they can escalate it and pull some strings and stuff.
Yeah, but it's Halton Council at the end of the day.
It's ultimately the council that deals with it.
Yeah. And she's like, "Oh, I love Reform. They're doing all nice things that really help people like me." And I'm like, "What, con artists, yeah?"
Grifters love Reform.
Funny you should say that. But yeah.
Mind you, it's like you say, the thing about Reform is everybody they've got who isn't Nigel Farage, when they open their mouth and start saying things, they say something that's horrifying. You've got the ex-Reform, the ex-Tory MPs rather, who just remind people that they've got nothing new to offer every single time they actually start speaking. You've got the ones with absolutely horrifying opinions who want to be Tommy Robinson or Andrew Tate, but don't even have the brains to do that. And then you've got the ones who are just your garden variety, extremely racist social media trolls. I mean, not to sort of blow the Worcestershire trumpet too much, but they've got a new mayor of Redditch, who has just been appointed. Reform kind of broke the traditional way of selecting the mayor of Redditch, and you'd think a district council mayor, not particularly relevant to anything in particular, except she's got something like 400,000 posts over 15 years on Twitter, and it's just like, and a huge proportion of them are incredibly bigoted, and it's sort of like people are going, hang on, a civic mayor who thinks that we need a great white shark in the English Channel, right? and that's just the start of it. There's a post where people have said, picture of Tony Blair when he's looking much younger and has floppy hair, and the question at the top of the post is, what does this make you think of? What's the first thing that comes to mind when you look at this post? And she just puts gay, and it's like, this person is now mayor of Redditch.
A picture of Tony Blair.
Yes, it's just. Why? But
they did the same thing in.
Sorry.
So they did the same thing in Barnsley in terms. I wonder if they did the same thing, because this is, just to be clear for people, this is not like a metro mayor. This is a civic mayor. They've got no political powers. They're just supposed to go around with the gold chain, cutting ribbons. They did the same thing in Barnsley, where it was, because the mayor's supposed to be a long-standing councillor, so it was actually supposed. It's not a political position. So it was going to be this Labour this person who's been a councillor for 30 years, Labour, and Reform UK, because they've now taken over Barnsley, they just said, no, we're not having our person there. Similar thing. It doesn't matter too much. It is just a civic role. And in fact, Reform UK picking their own people can only backfire on them. I don't know why they're doing it, in all honesty. Same with Farage and his thing. You say everyone apart from Farage when they open their mouth. Farage isn't that. He's just been a bit smarter than most others. He never should have opened his mouth about 5 million. No one asked him to say anything about it. I mean, okay, they did. He didn't have to. He don't usually say things about it. He should have just said nothing. He should have just said it's a gift and left it at that.
Exactly.
And if the parliamentary authorities say, Because actually, even Dan Needle probably thinks, yes, you can classify it as a gift. You should have just left it. That's a gift. And what's it for? It's a gift. What are your gifts for? Shut up.
Yeah.
And then when the parliamentary authorities, you should have declared it. He goes, oh, all right then. I didn't think I should have to, but all right, you wankers. And that would be the end of it.
Yeah. Literally, like he didn't need to answer that question, and it's the thing that's interesting about the people on the far right of politics is they're actually quite good at signaling the things that upset them and are their weak points, because they get weirdly over defensive and aggressive at the point that they start getting confronted with stuff that's sort of related to that sensitive spot. I mean, I think it became clear there was something deeply wrong with that 5 million quid when he started getting needlessly defensive about it. I just sort of think, in a way, if they could just have the discipline to not react like that, they get away with so much more. I mean, it's like with Boris Johnson and Partygate, like what you were saying earlier. If he'd come clean about it, I think people would have let him off. But it was the fact he lied and lied some more and lied some more and then lied a bit more again. That's what did it for him in the end. It just kept it in the news.
I don't know. I think with some of these things, the public wouldn't. I don't think Partygate would, because everyone seemed to be following the laws. Although Nigel Farage got away with it because he said on Stephen Crowder's show that the second lockdown, he just sodded off the law and the rules and just did whatever he wanted to do. And it was great fun. But he hasn't had the same accountability as the others. And I think he does get, with the 5 million, wouldn't it just make sense just to declare it? And then none of this would have happened as well?
Yeah, it would.
But then why they're hiding? Because that's the way you're just like...
It's just because what else is he hiding? Like, we know about this 5 million quid. How much more money has been given that is a gift?
I mean, I'm not gonna bang on too much about it, but there are lots of questions that could be asked that follow on from this. Like, how long did Reform UK have that cryptocurrency portal open on their website? They were the only British political party inviting cryptocurrency donations. And we know foreign intelligence services like to use cryptocurrency. It's one of the few actual uses of crypto is to funnel money illegitimately between crime organizations and foreign intelligence services. What were they receiving and who were they receiving it from, and how much did they get?
Epstein likes cryptocurrency, or he did.
Well, anyone who wants to evade sanctions likes cryptocurrency.
Yeah. I'm not the biggest fan of crypto. I have done many videos on here where I've gone off on one about it. And all I can say is I'm very glad that those people who spent $1.3 million buying a JPEG of a bored ape knows that those things are now worth absolutely nothing whatsoever. All the people who bought the Melania Trump coin that she made, that's worth absolutely nothing now. I don't know what happened to Trump coin, if that's still going or not. But
nothing going. Like, these things last about half an hour. They get the money in, and then that's it.
Pump and dump.
And the Trump has now put his own face on the $250 bill.
Yeah,
he says he is, but he won't. For the it takes a long time to do it. Yeah, the 250th anniversary is in like a month.
Well, he's going to start blasting away on Mount Rushmore to put his face on Mount Rushmore.
I don't mind that. If he does it himself,
really?
That'll be my thing. If he does it himself, give him a ladder and a chisel and an hammer. I would accept it if he did it himself.
He's going to get someone else to do it and pay for them with American taxpayers' money.
I am just going to say,
if I was a senior member of Congress and had like a whole caucus that could swing the vote for him, I would say we will agree to it if you do it yourself.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say I'm going to repeat the same kind of remark I made about the White House and our job being to be the ones who demolish it. Mount Rushmore has already been horribly defaced once. If Donald Trump does it, then the rest of white America will finally know how the Native Americans felt.
Yeah, that's true. We've got another £2 super chat in for Hannah to smile. Oh, that's nice. There you go. There's your although when she was smiling, then it was covered by the super chat animation. So sorry, Martin, you missed it. But yeah, I'm just looking at America now in just absolute bemusement. But if Andy Burnham wins this by-election, I am mildly hopeful. I'm trying not to get my hopes up too much. Mildly hopeful that when he gets in, he will change Labour's course, or at least improve their comms. Because I've been watching his TikTok videos so far. He's done really well. He's obviously learnt from Zoran Mandani over in the US of how to do these TikTok videos that actually, it's him.
You don't need
off the cuff
You just
chatting away.
Just ask people. Just get the reason I'm in London is because there's this big climate group that knows it needs to get public messages out, and they all thought to themselves, we don't know how to use social media. Should we invite some people who are on social media around? Yeah, and that's what they've done. They've created this group of us.
What?
And that's what
just get some consultants in from PricewaterhouseCoopers.
No, they said, do you know who might know how social media works? People are on social media.
No way.
And so they're creating this network of people with certain types of audience to connect them in with experts and information stuff, so they can, and the government should do the same thing.
Yeah.
Like when it did that thing where it got in 70 or 80 odd social media, stars, and got into Downing Street and stuff like that. That's the sort of thing I would do. But the problem with that is that was just a PR thing. They should have, you can't do anything. You can't do round tables with 70, 80 people. They should have just got in 10 at a time and did, for like I'm doing for the next few days, round tables, and just talk to them about it and learn things from them.
Yeah.
And develop strategies from that. But they didn't do that. They just said, we'll just get a load of social media people, which is, I support it. But all they can do, because those people are not political, every now and then the government will announce something that's in their niche, and every now and then they'll do a video on it. It doesn't help build up any sort of narrative. And this is what Andy Burnham's still not doing, although who knows, we'll see. But you've got to build up you've got to give them content every day. You've got to build up that audience. So you're having a conversation. You can't just tap into the viral moments. That gets you views. That's valuable for someone that's just using social media for money. But if you want to actually if you want to explain complex things, you've got to have people who come in day after day, and then those people can disseminate the information to others. And they don't get that.
That was what the lady who was a partner of Elon Musk was saying that Trump and all that lot were doing. They were literally going and paying them to put out those messages. It wasn't like they were briefing them. They were going, she claimed anyway. I think she also got interviewed on Luke Beasley, and Mehdi Hassan interviewed her. And on Mehdi Hassan, she was saying, they'd offer £1,000 to do a story, 100 quid. Mm-hmm. And then it would depend on how often you want to do the messaging for them. But so they were literally doing the debriefs. But I mean, Labour could do that. They could literally go, get 10 YouTubers in, we'll give you a brief, and you go off and do what you want with the story in the morning.
They don't have to pay this. I mean, Labour is still a popular party. There's still people who would do stuff for them.
Yeah.
They just need to, but they need to do their own stuff. I still maintain they should do their own stuff. They've got a large communications team. They've got the skills to do it. They just don't have the leadership to direct it.
I mean, it is weird. They don't see it, and they haven't seen it for 7 years. And you go, Ed Davies the same. He should have a podcast, but he doesn't want to have one. What's that?
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I think one of the problems, the sort of the fundamental problem with the mathematics, and I suspect Phil may have said something along the same line. So if I am paraphrasing something you've said previously or plagiarizing, Phil, I apologize. But by definition, if you are an MP today, your political career started at least 5 years ago, probably 10, realistically, which means you got into politics prior to social media. You're like the kids who grew up in school without smartphones and therefore don't know what it's like fundamentally to be a kid now who does have them and can't escape them. And I think that in terms of the comms revolution, there's a lot of people who don't know what they don't know because they know so little about it. Again, I have to argue tooth and nail against doing silly things like buying paid ads on Facebook to push out a single message as a one-shot, because what happens is it gets pushed to people who are going to hate it and are going to absolutely shred it.
Yeah.
And therefore, the only reaction anyone will see is total derision. But trying to explain that, if you've got people in the room who don't understand the basics of social media, is incredibly hard work.
Do you know, I'm going to plug it. We got Neil Kinnock on last week for the Sunday roast.
Oh, wow.
And we brought it up with him. And he said, yeah, I don't get it. He's 83.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, they've got no comms. Now, I've got to be honest, he didn't really go into much more detail than that. He recognised it, said it needed to be sorted out, but didn't go any further than that. But it was really interesting hearing him bring that up and talk about it. And yet, you know, you're going, Starmer's younger than you and doesn't get it. I think the first bit of social media came today from Starmer that I could say seemed a bit genuine, natural, and on it was he did a penalty shootout with David Seaman and all the guys doing the football charity match. What is it today? Is it England versus the World 11? I can't think what they call it.
What, like
charity football match?
Relief, like
sports relief. Yeah. Something along those. Well, we're terrible.
Something like that. Something what's going on in the world. I don't know.
What's going on?
We can't know everything.
But he was on that,
Soccer
and he
Aid.
went, "Oh, Soccer Aid, yeah." He was on Soccer Aid, so he had the savviness to go on Soccer Aid. But then maybe it's because he doesn't talk. Just to kick football into the back of the net.
But I mean, all things being equal, if Andy Burnham does win next month in
it is. Sorry. Okay.
In Makerfield, then Starmer might not be the Prime Minister by the end of the summer.
Well, that's what I'm hoping they get him. What I would say.
Have you got a bet on it, Phil?
No. What I would say, I've been losing my bets recently, so I'm trying not to jinx it now. I would say so he's in basically 19th of March. He swears his oath on the Monday. Getting Prime Minister before the summer recess, because then he needs, like, Andy Burnham's actually got 3 things that I would advise he should do. 2 of them he will definitely do, because he will know that. The first is there are some tricky policies that he's got to decide his position on. Right? There's the Equalities Act situation. He's got to work out what he's doing on that. There's the jury thing, because that's really loaded. He's got to decide where he's on that. There's a few things where he's got to work. And during the summer recess, he doesn't have to say anything to anyone, really. So, although I am going to sort of caveat that in a moment. The other thing he needs to do, because at the moment it just sounds like he's going to carry on doing what Labour are doing, but trumpet it a bit better. But he probably has to do something different. So he'll need the summer to go to the Treasury and go, look, I've got these ideas. Tell me which ones aren't fucking stupid. So again, without the pressure of, because as soon as he's back in Parliament as Prime Minister, he's got to say what his vision is, right? He's got to set out his vision. He can't. The public are impatient. And then the third thing I would advise him to do is get out there twice a week over the summer recess, get yourself down high streets and just talk to people and get yourself out, and never stop doing that. He won't be able to do it twice a week, once Parliament's in session, all the rest of it. But to begin with, at least get himself out there, and just be approachable. Just listen as well. Let people whine at you, let moan at you, note it down, listen to them, and just keep that, do that.
Phil,
within Makerfield or around the country?
Everywhere.
Phil, Mr. Tisk in the chat is saying Burnham does a weekly phone in on Radio Manchester, answers several important questions. I think stuff like that.
Get himself.
Obviously,
good.
Sadiq Khan does that once a month on LBC.
Yeah. Do it nationally. Like, go out there, get the cameras will follow you around like a bad smell, right? So you'll also be capturing the news cycle. I mean, until they get bored with the fact you're asking Mrs. Miggins what she most wants to deal with. But just get out there, be positive PR to begin with. It'll create that sense of optimism that Labour actually had for a few weeks. So I keep reminding people, after the election, their poll rating, Starmer's personal poll rating, went up after the election because they had 3 weeks of positivity until the Farage riots. And then they came back. And actually, Starmer's actually said he's written a Substack in response to Tony Blair, where he basically does that. And he's actually acknowledged for the first time, I think, ever, that, when we started going doom and gloom on the economy, that was a bit of a fuck up, really. And I think, it's the first time you've said that. It's a bit late, but at least you've acknowledged it now.
Got there in the end. Before we go on, Martin Harrow dropped £2 in for Elle to say Elle's getting jealous. This is for her to smile. So, Elle, if you want to give Martin a smile, I guess in the chat somehow. I don't know how that'll work. But thank you, Martin. And Brad W has dropped £5 in saying Faustian pacts last 24 years. So Blair will be dragged away by Mephistopheles next year. Isn't that one of the cats from Cats?
Well, that Mr. Mephistopheles was, he was the best one.
Was that the devil?
Yeah.
No, he was a good sort, Mr. Mephistopheles. Mr. Mephistopheles, the cat, was a good sort. He saved the day.
All right, not the devil then.
I think he's also a D&D deity.
Bye.
All right, see you later, Alex. Bye. Alex got to get off. See you. It's past his bedtime. Don't forget, there's an rejoin EU March on June the 20th. Alex was supposed to advertise it. Are you going to be going to that, Phil?
I am. It's awkward timing now because it'll be like by-elections on the 18th. Yes. So we'll get the result on the 19th, but then my stream's knackered on the 20th.
Yeah.
I'll be coming back from London.
Are you around on the 20th, Hannah, by any chance?
No, I've been roped in to go to my mum's fate thing at her old people's home.
All right, fair enough. Well, you enjoy your fate. Well, it's going to be a bit similar at the Rejoin EU March because I'm not being funny, but there's a lot of older people who tend to go to this. That's why I thought it was so funny when I was having a meeting about the march that we did in Manchester years ago, and I think it was Labour, a representative of Labour, saying, well, you're walking down the street half an hour before us because they want to be part of our march. And they said, but what if you decide to start vandalising the place or lie down in the road? And I'm like, the average age of the people of this march is like 62 years old. What do you think they're going to do? I mean, if they lie down on the road, it's probably because they're dead. Like, what? Anyway, so yeah. Anyway, come to the march though, because me and Femi will be there, and Alex. And maybe Ed, are you going to come to our Rejoin EU March, Ed?
Oh, I'm going to have to see how it lines with the schedule. It's tricky because, if I'm not mistaken, that's a Saturday. I'm often actually in my council ward on Saturdays, so it's tricky. But you never know. I'm not ruling it out.
Well, like I said at the top of the show, I'm hoping to be in London and Liverpool all at the same time. So, fingers crossed. If the trains
Right, I'm going to head off, guys. Sorry for being
thanks for coming on, Hannah.
Quiet this evening and getting on my soapbox about my first aid bits.
It's an important topic.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'll be back when I'm in a better place.
Okay, well, you've inspired me. We Hannah, just before you go, we really need to do an episode of The Intersection at some point over the next few weeks because people only have the next 4 weeks, I think, to get in touch with their MPs about the new guidance that's come out from the Equalities and Human Rights Commission. Yes.
Yeah. Don't even get me fucking started.
Well, I would like to get you started on that. So let's do an episode of The Intersection when you've got a minute. Okay.
Absolutely. Totally up for that.
Oh,
you will see me again very soon.
Thanks,
guys.
Right,
bye.
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 There you go. Booking guests while we're doing the show. And now we're left with Phil and Ed, who are both Labour people at the moment. Are you still in Labour, Phil?
I'm not in Labour, but I'm still a Labour supporter. I only left them, mostly because, they have an issue with me saying, look, we've got this electoral system that means we need to sort of think about how to use your vote, and they don't like it. It's like, well, change the system then. No, we don't want to do that either. So.
Well, plus you say £5.
But I think it'll be quite important at the next election. I think tactical voting will be particularly tricky and important at the next election.
Yes.
And, so...
Do you think, Phil, that Reform can outlive Farage? Do you think if Farage...
I think they can remain as a force, but I think they would lose. I think they'll deflate somewhat because, he's going to take over. Richard Tice has got no.
He's got no pizzazz. He's got no riz.
What might happen? Maybe I don't know. It depends what they want to do. Do they just then merge with Restore Britain and just decide, well, if they can't win power, they might as well just be batshit crazy all the time. That's the only reason Restore Britain is a thing is because Reform UK decided they could win power, so they'd have to sort of appeal to some moderate voters. So they moderated some of their, at least promises. I don't really know what they would do in power in some, but they moderated some of their rhetoric and some of their, they basically adopted the tone, we're not racist, but, and Restore Britain went, hang on a minute, we don't like the sound of that, not. So that's the only reason they exist. Whereas if they can't win power anyway, then it's not like they are moderate or anything. It's not like they are a more moderate party. They're just strategic. So they may end up just merging into one batshit crazy thing on the fringes of the right wing again.
I mean, I think the trouble is that they've constituted reform in such a way. I mean, I was rereading trying to understand the constitutional arrangements of Reform UK, and theoretically the members own it, but in practice it's actually run by a managing company, if I've understood it correctly, which has two directors, one of which is Nigel Farage, the other one is Zia Yusuf. So unless one of them pushes the other out of a moving taxi, it's sort of very difficult to imagine how Nigel Farage actually loses control of Reform. He sort of built he won't. Control.
He will concede control at a moment when either he's too ill to carry on or he's trousered enough cash that he's off to America.
But then you sort of end up asking the question, what happened to UKIP when Nigel Farage left that? I mean, I suspect you could be looking at the same story all over again, and it's only a matter of time before they try and rebrand themselves with an iron cross.
I mean, yeah. See, I mean, the thing with UKIP is it was actually set up as a proper political party. This was Nigel Farage's greatest mistake. And he acknowledged it as such. So that's why he wanted to own the Brexit Party and then Reform UK, specifically so he didn't have to deal with all that infighting, herding cats bollocks. So given that it is still owned, he would just simply either transfer ownership to someone or maintain ownership and just like be a, what do you call it, a sleeping partner or something.
So make money out of it.
But I guess the thing is, though, when I'm looking at it, what is reform for? I mean, if what we're sort of uncovering through the 5 million quid gate is worth anything, it seems to me like it only exists as a vehicle for very wealthy people to buy their control of UK politics a different way. Yes. Like they used to donate to the Conservative Party and get their policies delivered for them. Then Boris Johnson came in and did it way incompetently, and they got frustrated. And then they started trying to set up an alternative vehicle through Reform UK to deliver broadly the same agenda, but with the racism that helped it sort of side in through the right wing. But basically the same people will be continuing to try and buy their way back into politics. They've surely got to... Yeah,
it's the same people will do with the policies. I mean, they are a rebranded Tory party. They've brought in Robert Jenrick, the immigration minister, whom Nigel Farage specifically blamed for what he called the Boris wave, which is actually the Brexit wave, if you look at the timing.
Yeah,
and he's brought him in and said, not just brought him into the party, he said, you should be in charge of our economic policy, literally the most important platform. He would be, in this imagining of a Nigel Farage government, the second most senior member of that government.
Yeah, and yet there he is as a former Tory. Like he's only been out of power. Again, it was sort of like the same conversation I was having a couple of months ago about Councillor Jo Monk, who was then the leader of Worcestershire County Council. Her Tory party membership was barely cold at the time that she became appointed the Reform leader of Worcestershire County. She'd barely been out of the Conservative Party a month before, hey presto, here she was as a Reform leader, saying she was going to right all the wrongs of the administration that she was just part of.
But it's absolute nonsense because no one knows who people are in politics. This is the problem with spitting image ending, and it never made a splash when it came back. So.
Well,
people used to know who people were. Spitting image at least meant you know who people were.
But the thing with Spitting Image is it worked because it was very entertaining for one thing. For another thing, it had a ready-made audience on one of the handful of channels that was around at the time. And and everybody watched it. Whereas like today, there are so many streaming options that are sort of a retread of a series from the 80s that exists on a channel that you have to pay to access. Just isn't going to.
This is why I keep saying like Labour, all the parties should do it as well, but Labour, as Labour supporters, should do their own thing where they do like just nick ideas. Just do I keep saying, do a silly cooking, like get a senior MP, a minister who's good at cooking and one who's shit at cooking, and just do something together. You can talk about policies and stuff, and you know, if you just film some of this stuff, like each minister would only probably need to do something every 3 months. It's a few hours, a Friday afternoon or something. Someone's going to record. You don't have to do anything. You just have to go on there and get fed a few lines and do a few things. Do a few hours of it. Someone will then edit it into 10 minutes of gold.
Yeah.
And they could just do that, and they could have content out multiple times a week, as well as a few smaller bits that the teams do themselves. And they'd get to be known, and it would be popular.
You know, one of the things that you've said there, which sort of gets my brain tingling, which is one of the mistakes I see made when people are trying to draw up political social media strategies. One of the biggest mistakes I see is they misidentify the competition. The competition for Labour Party social media is not Reform, and it's not the Tories, it's not the Greens, it's not the Lib Dems. They're actually all pretty rubbish at social media. Individual members of the parties can be pretty good, but actually most of them are pretty pants. The competition is what's popular and trending on social media. It is actual content created. It's cooking channels, it's makeup channels, it's fashion channels, it's the places where people actually go for their content. And, you know, until politicians understand that their place is as much among those streams of social media, well, they're trying to go swimming in a puddle, and that's not going to work.
I mean, one thing you'll always hear on any YouTube, like how to do YouTube thing, is first thing you must do, you must know what is the audience you're trying to attract. You've got a very fixed idea of them, because you can't go, oh, it's everyone. No, because not everyone's interested in the same content. And you put out a video that does well, and then you put out another one that's for a completely different audience. The algorithm can't. Oh, the algorithm's not showing my stuff. Yeah, because you keep giving it different stuff. It don't know it don't know who to give it to. So, and the thing is, for Labour, it should be easy. Who are your target voters? And do you know what? If you've got two types of target votes, I mean, at the moment you might have 6. If you've got two types, then do 2 different channels. You've got them anyway. You know, do the Labour Party stuff for one, and do like Keir Starmer's got his own. You do the Prime Ministers for the other, and you have different types of content on them. And that's what you do. Like you see YouTubers who are successful who will have multiple channels. Like sometimes you'll see a popular gaming YouTuber and they've got 3 gaming channels. And the reason they're doing that is because they know that some of the stuff on the other ones is not for the same audience. You cannot try and jam multiple audiences into the same platform.
So you're basically saying, Perun Gaming is a classic one. Like, Perun does really good videos explaining sort of the defense economics of the Ukraine war for those people who are interested, and has his own gaming channel completely separately now from the presentations about the Ukraine war, and it works. And you know, it's like you said, one of the things that really annoys me that I see again in terms of political social media strategy, there's an awful lot too much of MPs or like people going, well, this thing that has been produced in social media looks like a halfway competent graphic. I can just plop that on my channel and it will do equally well. And it's like replicating the same content that someone else has made is one of the least authentic things you can do, and it loses people really, really quickly. You know, you have to be making your own stuff. You have to be doing it regularly, and you have to have your own take on it. I mean, it's maddening when you think Labour have north of 400 MPs. All of them could be doing this. All of them can be mini influencers in their own right, and they can get a hell of a lot of content out if they were to do it that way.
Yeah, and the thing I would advise to them, like, because I know last year Labour were saying, oh, each MP needs to go out and do their own social media, but there's no guidance, but they don't know themselves how to do it. And what I would say is, because some of them will then naturally think, oh, I need to do content that will be appealing to my local constituents. Like, no, because they're all different people. So what you do instead is you pick something that is your thing, right? And you do content on that, and then it will get to some of your constituents, but it'll also get to, you know, people around the country. And then another Labour does something on their thing, and together you can then cover lots of things and build up your own audience that still promotes Labour.
Exactly that. I mean, it's one of the things I learned pretty early on. I found initially I was trying to create content that was within just my council area, and there's not enough people in the area to build up that audience. What you have to do is find something that is a special interest or a niche that is relevant in some way to that area. And as you say, don't worry if you're reaching people outside the catchment, because you are the brand. You are recruiting people for your team, even if they're not in your area. And then someone else who's working the other place can benefit from your work, and vice versa, if they're covering a topic that you can't.
Yeah. And as I say, you will get more if someone tries to do something that's for local thing, but if it has bigger appeal, you'll get more local people watching it, because because if it does well, it will get shared to more people, more impressions. That means more people in your area that will come across it. And
I mean, I found initially I was trying to make content just again within my council area, within Warndon. It wasn't getting a lot of views because Warndon has something like 3,500 electors or so, and then a population that's probably a bit bigger than that. It might be as high as like 10,000 at a very, very, very generous estimate, but that's because there's a very relatively low number of people who are registered to vote. But it's like, basically, that's not a big enough audience. Yeah, but that's not a big enough audience to be able to build your channel on. And whereas if you build up an audience that's kind of separate to that, and then you put the local stuff up, the algorithm says this person is interesting, I'm going to show their content to people in the local area, almost regardless of whether it has that sort of mass appeal. And so you're kind of building a train where the engine is the interesting stuff, and then the stuff that you've got carriages that are sort of attached to it.
I don't even think YouTube goes down to areas like that anyway, so it couldn't. The algorithm can't share it to people in your local area because it doesn't know. It doesn't know the demographics in that much detail.
No, I mean you can to an extent with Facebook because it's sort of built on top of social networks and built on top of social connections, and you're more likely to be connected more locally. That's sort of the principle that operates on. But yeah, for YouTube, you really couldn't narrow it down that way unless you're using ads, which can be targeted incredibly narrowly.
Yeah.
But at that point, it's like if you're doing paid ads, that's a very different type of content. And again, my instinct is, and I don't know what your take on it would be, but my instinct is actually if you're paying for something to go into an ad, you're more likely to annoy people because you're the person they clicked skip ad on, rather than the person that they watch.
And then if Keir Starmer does a talk where it sounds like an advert, you're not going to skip some adverts to watch an advert for the Labour Party. Yeah. And this is why it's just they're not making. This is why
I keep saying I could have solved his problems literally. I've watching some of these. My wife's buzzing me now. I kept saying he was doing some of these things relatively recently, and I just said what he needs to do is. Because he's just sat on this chair and it's even showing his lap on this thing. It's not even at a desk or anything. He should have his cat. He's got a cat. Get your cat and just start the video stroking the cat. I've been expecting you. And just do that. And then the cat can fuck off and that's fine. And then he can carry on.
Do you know what? They would end up spending 2 hours trying to get the cat to stay on his bloody lap.
Never work
with children or animals.
If you just need it at the start, it can then piss off and that's fine. That's not a problem.
It's like scratching his face.
You can literally just get off. That cat fucks off. Oh, you off. All right. And then just carry on. But just little devices like that. You don't need people who are naturally good.
It's a bit late now, though. I know
when it comes to coming
across naturally on camera, I do think Andy Burnham does a much better job.
Yeah, but they'll still need the platform. It's no point in just doing the odd video where you come across a bit better if you're not creating a platform to launch it.
Yeah.
And that's what they need to do regularly. They can't just think I'll do it. Like at the moment, we can't judge what he's done now because it's during a campaign. Of course, he's producing stuff now. He's got a campaign. Does it just then go dead? Does it go? Because do you remember when you were actually managed to approach Labour a few years ago?
Yeah.
And it was, in fact, I think I was watching one of my early live streams, so it must have been 2022 when you did this, and you'd said that they were reckoning, they only do it for campaigns. It's like you've got to build up your audience in between.
But they only got the funding to do it from central office when there was an election on. So they've
got a huge communications team.
And I always say ABC, always be campaigning. Trump he can't run again, but he's still campaigning. And, the 250th anniversary, they couldn't get the remaining member of Milli Vanilli, that famous band that weren't really singing their own songs or writing their own songs. It was the guy who was from Boney M. They couldn't get him, so it's going to be Donald Trump talking for 90 minutes. About how
why
great
is it that narcissists or people with very clear traits of like being sociopathic, narcissistic, whatever it is you want to call it, being massively egotistical, why do they keep getting elected? It's because they love talking about how wonderful they are, and they do it reflexively and instinctively. And to an extent, like if you want to succeed in politics, you have to be prepared to go out there every single day and just talk about the stuff that you're doing and how wonderful it is. You've got to be talking values all the time, and you've got to make a habit out of it. And I think that falling out of that discipline, making it an occasional thing, is where things go massively wrong. You can't build people's expectations and hopes up and then deflate them by turning boring the minute that you've actually walked into office. One of the things that is, again, it's like a pet peeve of mine, but it's the amount of money that gets spent on paper literature that goes nowhere, that no one is reading anymore. The number of times where I'll have had something pushed back into my hand from someone who's perfectly supportive of the party, but isn't going to read it because it's not interesting. Or the number of times that I've had colleagues come back and say, oh, well, the bright red colours of our leaflets meant people thought they were pizzas. And it's like, if we're struggling for people to simply recognize the nature of the thing that has come through their door, it is probably not the best way to spend the party's limited money and resources. Like, there have to be better ways of doing it. Also, why do you spend so much time trying to get yourself in a local newspaper or on local press when they're hostile to you and are loudly hostile and are loudly promoting opposition parties? You have the means at your fingertips, at your disposal, to build a direct relationship with the residents. Do that. Don't get caught up trying to strategize how you're going to persuade people who are hostile to you to somehow accidentally carry your message. Focus on delivering it yourself. The means are there.
I'll tell you what, a big difference between Starmer and Burnham that I've noticed. So going back to what you were saying about the narcissists, whatever. Andy Burnham says, I did this. I got the B network going. I got the, we don't need to have this low emission zone because I brought in these buses that are electric and we don't need them. And I was the one who thought. You never hear that with Starmer. He never says, I was the person who detoxified Labour. I was the person who got rid of all the anti-Semitism. I was the person who got them elected with a massive majority. He never says that. He says things like, this is the difference that a Labour government makes. And he always talks about the collective, as in it's a group effort. And I can see on some levels why he does that. But when you're the leader, you need to personalize it more. We all know it's supposed to be first among equals or whatever. But, the Thatcher lines, the famous Thatcher lines, like, the lady is not for turning, that was referring to herself. It wasn't referring to the Tory party.
Because what you need to do, what you need to do is you need to sell what you're doing and then say, you wouldn't have got this without me.
Yes. And Starmer's never done that.
And in a sense, one of the mistakes is the idea that it's egotistical to talk about yourself in politics. In a sense, when you are talking about yourself in politics, you're not really talking about yourself. You're talking about the idealized character that people have built around you. You're talking about the persona. And in a way, I mean, if you're anyway introverted, as it may not come across, but I'm pretty introverted by nature, and I've had to learn how to fight against screaming impulses to go and hide somewhere. It's something that you have to learn in politics. It's an act of selflessness to actually make yourself into a public figure and then invite all of the response and all of the feedback and all of the opinions that people are going to have about you if you're someone in politics who's active and a personality. It's not something... if you're egotistical, it helps a lot. But if you're not egotistical, you still have to put the legwork in. And it's not selfish to talk about your own accomplishments if it helps your party to get elected. It's not selfish in that case.
Starmer talks about himself. He'll talk about his upbringing. He'll talk about the fact that his dad was a toolmaker. He'll talk about this and that. But he very rarely sort of toots his own horn.
Talks about his,
and he should do. Like, the comeback for the... I know he talked about it a little bit when he was the director of public prosecutions, this accusation that was made by Boris Johnson in the House of Parliament that he let Jimmy Savile off,
Yeah.
right? And Starmer did come back and say, look, you know, I actually prosecuted more people than ever before for sex crimes, etc.
He should have been out there saying, I'm the guy who got the CPS to clamp down on the grooming gangs, stuff like that.
Better still, he should have said, I was literally the first prosecutor to go after them, which he was. And that's what he should have, and that's what he should have been doing all this time that Reform UK had been chirping. He should have said, I am literally the one who I mean, it'd be a little bit disingenuous because ultimately a journalist actually blew the lid on it. But he could say, if it weren't for me, you wouldn't even know about these grooming gangs.
There's absolutely things he could say. He could say, I'm the guy who clamped down on the grooming gangs. You can trust me with the safety of women and girls because look at my record. I spent my career doing this. Like that would be, I know, but it's like that would have been powerful and it would have been true, far truer than anything Nigel Farage has ever said. He said he worked in metals, did he?
What?
What was it? No,
it was a metals commodities trader.
Yeah, he was selling like
he reckoned it was a steel worker.
He just got the tea for the people who actually did the work. He was a tea boy. It was in a job that was set up by his dad because you know he's not so smart.
Do you remember all the stuff when they were having to like nick British steel off that Chinese company in a hurry? Johnny Reynolds that Saturday. Nigel Farage was trying to show solidarity with steelworkers. I was sort of a steel worker myself, you know. It's like a commodities trader, mate. He was.
Hello, kids. Hello, fellow kids. I know what's cool. I know what's fleek. I know what's hip. What's crack. What's up. Yes.
Hello, teenagers. Hello,
I would half expect him to say hello, fellow economic units. More of a Jacob Rees-Mogg thing, maybe.
How are we, just to change the subject a little bit, how are we feeling about Nicola Sturgeon not knowing her husband was a massive crook?
At the end of the day, like, I'm perfectly willing to believe it because you trust your spouse. What I'd be more, and at the end of the day, the SNP are the people who donated are also victims, but the SNP are victims in this. But again, it is one of those things about, you know, separation of powers. Should you really have had the leader and the chief executive be the same person? Like, or the married couple, like, you know, should they be that close?
I think there's a big problem with like nepotism and family dynasty building in politics. I think it's always a really bad look, and I think you've got to be really careful because it creates all kinds of conflicts of interest. And actually, I'm going to be going a little bit off piece possibly, but I think it's something that bears saying. One of the things that I've seen getting to know some of the Green Party is they have that problem as well, where you end up with a lot of sort of like nepotistic connections inside of the party. People get to positions because they are connected to someone else who already has a position, and that's kind of the recruitment process. I mean, it happens in a lot of parties, but it's happening a lot in like the Green Party because they've popped up and grown quickly. But obviously the SNP have this problem as well. There's a limited pool of people who are interested in politics, and that also feeds the problem. And it's probably going to be doubly a problem when you've got, you know, 5 different parties splitting the mainstream vote in British politics.
It's largely a trust issue because it's like, who can you trust? Well, someone who has earned your trust gives you a recommendation, and they recommend someone who's close to them.
Yeah,
not necessarily for the purposes of cronyism or anything, but they, you know, so it naturally happens.
It's a crime. It's, in a sense, if it was a crime, it's a crime of opportunity. You've got more chance of promoting your family.
You'll get recommendations.
Yeah,
you'll get recommendations from the people already established.
But it means that you're building blind spots into your organizational structure. It means that you've got people who have an incentive to not be suspicious about other people within the organization, and they can quite innocently, with the best of good intentions, you know, if you're a good person, you look out for your family. If you're a good person, you also try and do a good job. What happens when the two come into tension? A good person can do either of those things, but when they have to choose between them, they're betraying something. And that's, you know, that's a position you don't want to be put into, which is why you don't want to be working in the same office as someone like that.
I mean, with the Nicola Sturgeon, what I would say is that there was a weakness there because Nicola Sturgeon would just implicitly trust her husband. So she would be less, less suspicious if anything odd happened. I mean, very odd things happen. You look at some of the stuff we bought, some of it was batshit. And it's like, what do you need crystal salt and pepper mills for, mate? But yeah, so I can believe that she was completely betrayed. But it's like, but this was the problem. It's like you were talking about someone that you trusted implicitly. You would trust your spouse.
Yeah, and in a sense, it's a vulnerability that she built into the organization, that the SNP built in, and I think it just raises that question again and again and again. Why wouldn't you more carefully filter for that kind of problem when you're making like part of the selection process? I think if there's one lesson we should all be taking away from Reform UK, it's the value of a good selections process and the importance of filtering candidates before they get to the ballot paper, and making sure that people are not being stood for office who, if elected, would become a problem because of those family connections. Yeah, it's a sort of situation where they've created a rod for their own backs, and I don't know the sort of the inner workings of that scandal, but the SNP clearly have a lot of that problem. The Tories have it to an extent, the Greens have it to an extent, I'm sure Labour have it to an extent, and it's actually very damaging whenever it crops up. If there's a lesson, it's don't employ people close to you. It's too much of a risk.
Yeah. I'm feeling like the sort of the old parties like the SNP and Labour and the Tories and that they are just really, really getting bogged down at the moment. And the thing is that I find interesting is the way that, I mean, the Tories have got away with murder for years, but now they're in opposition. They don't seem to be getting away with as much stuff as they used to. Labour don't get away with anything. The SNP is not getting away with this stuff, but Trump and Farage and all those crooks, Orban up to very recently, are just getting away with absolute murder, and it's infuriating. So whenever I see something like what Robert Kenyon, the candidate for Makerfield for Refuck, has said, and I just think, what if Andy Burnham said that? What if Andy Burnham did that? What would be the response from those on the right?
I mean, Barack Obama's been doing a lot of that over the last year. Could you imagine if I'd have pulled half of this shit? It's insane.
I'm setting up a UFC wrestling ring on the front lawn of the White House.
Well, any number of things that Trump has done. He said, could you imagine if I did that?
It is interesting. I feel like one of the things that it sort of bears saying is politics has always had problems with corruption, but in a sense, corruption is inherently a part of politics. And in many countries, it's a tool of political control. It's a part of the system. It's sort of built in. I mean, if you look at sort of like Russia and to a lesser extent Ukraine, corruption is riddled through the whole system, and it was part of the way that dictatorial control was constructed. If everybody's corrupt, you have a red button you can push at any time to delete anybody that you don't like if you're in a position of control. And as long as you don't press the button too many times too quickly, you can restructure, you can reshuffle the sort of the middle ranking oligarchs in your system. You can reshuffle them all the time, and ensure that none of them ever get too big for their boots, knowing that all of them are corrupt. And I think to an extent that it does happen in democratic politics as well, where everybody being just that little bit corrupt means if the media want to destroy somebody, they just switch on the searchlights and boom, they found something.
Well, this is why with the House of Lords, like Starmer was really trying to push that, but he had a lot of resistance within Labour. And the reason is, of course, because Labour may not hand out seats in the House of Lords for £3 million like the Tories did, but they still give it as rewards for like keeping quiet or doing something, whatever. And if you get rid of, they don't like the idea of getting rid of it because it gets rid of what is actually a form of corruption, reward for being a good boy or girl or something like that, which is why I want it gone ASAP. It's one of the many reasons.
I think that part of the problem as well is, and I'm trying to find my sort of feelings on this. I think our ideal system of government in lots of ways is a lot more meritocratic than the one that we actually have. But then also, would a meritocracy survive very long if there isn't that sort of, the ability to reward loyalty? It's a horrible thought, isn't it? That corruption is so inherent to the way that politics works that it's very hard to fully root it out, and you can end up, upending the system in ways that you didn't anticipate because it is built with that expectation of corruption.
The thing is, at some point, as a senior politician, you're going to mess up really badly, and you need people to sort of keep it quiet. And some people will do so out of the sense of, team playing, but some people need inducements.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard enough to motivate people to step up into politics. I mean, I'll go into the example of like council seats. People probably imagine there's millions and millions of good council candidates out there waiting to stand for a seat. There aren't. I mean, the money's terrible.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard work.
It's hard work for very little reward, and you get people screaming at you for things you didn't do. I got screamed at one time because of a riverside path that fell into the river, and the council's planning committee didn't vote to award damages. And there was no amount of explanation that could possibly get across the point that we're not a tribunal that can do that. That's not in our gift. And you do, as a councillor, sign up knowing that you are going to get screamed at for things that absolutely in no way are your fault. It's hard hard to motivate people.
Do you add? I mean, I saw the VFuck fuckers in. Where was that place where they came out and none of them knew what the rules were? Did you see this?
Tip of my brain.
I did see it, yeah.
Fleet.
Sarah Wood. Is it Sarah Wood? Which council was this? Are you thinking Kirklees?
Yes, I think
it might be. Yeah, that's the one.
Because
what they did,
we don't know, so this is unconstitutional because we didn't bother to learn our job.
There was something better. They were doing what was it now? They were doing something where they had to vote for a particular way on something.
I think I can give you this one. I think I can do this one. So I think what happened was, if I've understood correctly, they tried to do a leadership selection during the meeting and they couldn't all agree because no party has a majority. No party's actually that close to a majority. It's very, very sort of weird numbers. So having failed at the first pass to elect a Reform leader and a Green leader, a Conservative stepped up and suggested suspending the standing orders for that part of the meeting so that they could have a head-to-head. And they would have a head-to-head where no one was allowed to abstain, thus forcing a majority of some description or another, and also allowing a debate to platform each of the party leaders. But Reform couldn't get their heads around that. That was much too complicated for them. And they basically said, we don't understand, we don't know what we're being asked to vote for. We're worried that we're going to stiff ourselves because we're so thick.
No, there was another one. It may have been the same council, but it may have been the same meeting.
The one I saw.
There was something, and I wish I could remember what it was now. It was to do with finances. And there was something like, because they were so new, they didn't realise there's some votes that just go through on the nod, right? You just automatically vote for it. And they're explaining it to them, and then right, time for the vote, and they all voted against it, and all the other councillors, Jesus Christ. So then they spent another half hour explaining it to them again. And then they went, right. And they voted the other way and got it through. And it was absolute clown show. I wish I could remember the details. Unfortunately, I've been reading too many of these things.
Hello. We've got Ben. Hello. How you doing, mate? You okay?
I may have to go up for 5 minutes anyway, so that's handy.
Yeah, we can hear you. Just about. How's it going, mate?
Not too bad.
We've got a bit of Ben. Because Ben needs to tell us about what's going down with this march on the 20th.
Sorry, what's going down? There's going to be the fourth annual National Rejoin March in London on the 20th, Saturday the 20th of June. And we were a bit worried because there was a crowdfunder that wasn't making anywhere near as much money as Christopher Harborne could have donated.
You just get like a guy who lives in Thailand to give you 5 million.
Well, it's funny because it's always, since we started doing this, it's always been the same. As Cliff Richard once sang, didn't he? Why does the devil have all the good music? The other side has got all the money. I mean, and a hell of a lot of it. But no, we've been relying on the little people to fund this with 5, 10, 20 quid. Fortunately, because Tom, who is also on the committee with us at National Rejoin March, has access to this bizarre, huge email list of Stay Europeaners. He put out one of his many sort of email calls, and we funded it to the tune of, I think, 24,000. So we can have the screen, we can have the stage, we can do what we did last year, which is going to be great. Was going to be in excuse me, it was going to be in Trafalgar Square, but I believe it's now in Parliament Square again. The route has changed a bit. I believe we're going to go over 2 bridges this time, which makes for some good drone shots and some really good sort of photo opportunities. So that's happening on the 20th of June. And it will be, of course, the 10th anniversary of Brexit or Brexit. And everyone will be talking about it, as they already are. So that should be very exciting. And of course, that is just 2 days after, am I right?
Yes,
the by-election.
So it's by-election results, rejoin march.
Yeah, by-election results, rejoin march. And I'm sure you've been talking about that. It's hard to know what to make of all that. But the other thing they're doing at the moment, which is absolutely fantastic, is they're rambling. It's the rejoin, or if you prefer, join ramble to Brussels.
Are you going to be putting together bits of furniture? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No, Peter, Claire, his partner, and Kira, who sort of heads up Rejoin Youth, which is basically anyone under about 40. Are walking from Westminster to Brussels, and I was speaking to tonight, and they're at Wipers or Eeps, however you pronounce it.
Wipers.
Wipers. Well, apparently that is what the World War I soldiers referred to Ypres, however you pronounce it, as. Anyway, they're there tonight, and they have done around 148, 150 of the 208 miles.
Did they get through the Channel Tunnel? Did they walk through the Channel Tunnel?
No, they didn't go on the Channel Tunnel. They went on a boat. They went on
they swim?
an actual ferry. No, they didn't swim. They had a day off that day, actually. They were speaking. No, they spoke to, I believe, the New Statesman, which is the really dodgy one. The Spectator. That's the bad one.
Spectator.
No, the New Statesman. They spoke to the New Statesman, and one of the German TV channels, I believe, on the ferry. But they're at Eeps tonight. And they were just about to head out when I spoke to them to a nightly memorial service that they have at the War Memorial every single night.
Yeah,
I can't believe they do that, but they do. And we were arguing about what they speak in Belgium. Peter was convinced it was Dutch. I said no, I think it's Flemish, French, German, maybe a bit of Dutch, I don't know. But yeah, they've done around 3/4 of the 208 miles, and they're due to arrive in Brussels with a book called Voices Across the Channel, which is a 38-page book of messages from pro-European types that want to rejoin the EU or join the EU, depending on your allergy to that word.
Let's not do this, Ben.
Oh, no, sorry.
But anyway, Cozy was on this show like I don't know, a year or a couple of years ago, and we had a massive Barney about whether it should be rejoin or join. And she's there was no telling her, mate. She was just like, we're not rejoining, we're joining. And I'm like, it's the same organization.
Yeah, we were once members and we will be again.
If you want me to throw my autism in here, I could just say that the advantage of saying join, or like I say, it can work both ways, but rejoining implies under the old conditions and joining doesn't.
That's her argument, yeah.
That is her argument. Whereas
my argument is the same organisation.
It's just that it's like re-entry when the Artemis spacecraft
came
back.
It's the same planet, but under different.
Yeah, it's a very
that's wrong, because it shouldn't be re-entry. Because they never entered it before. It should just be entry.
You're going to have to go back 60 years to sort that one out.
Yeah,
I'm just going to.
Sorry, Ed, go on.
I'm going to lobby. The only reason, the strongest reason I can say not to say rejoin is because it sounds too close to the other terrible words in British politics right now, like reform and restore and various other words.
That's a very
that's
good
our
point.
advantage. We can get people to put that on the ballot box. Rejoin UK.
I hadn't thought of it from that angle, actually, but no, they're doing a rejoin ramble, and a join ramble just doesn't sound right, whereas a join march just doesn't have that ring
European
to it.
freedom is a good one, though. Like someone suggested the European Freedom Party, because then the idea is that we're getting our freedoms back to travel around Europe, like we used to.
Right, I have to get off, I'm afraid.
All right, Phil. Have a good night, mate. Thanks for coming and partying with us.
Bye-bye.
Good to see you, Phil.
See you, mate. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Phil's off now to go to Soho. He's got his glow stick ready. His MDMA. He's
just winding him up now.
He's gonna rave all night. So yeah, Ben, it's good to see you, mate. It's good to see you.
Good to see you as well. I don't believe I've met you, Ed Kimberley.
Yes, I'm a Labour councillor over in Worcester.
Oh, cool.
Yes. My claim to fame is I'm that guy that got a cease and desist letter from Reform UK council leader who is now out of a post, and I'm still here.
Goodness me.
So, Ben, did you go to Pride yesterday, Ben?
No, where was I yesterday? I was in Concert yesterday, selling my wares at a market stall at the Concert Community Market. But I didn't know. I heard it all went down very well.
Brilliant. It was twice as big as last year because
despite Darren Grimes not wanting to fund it or cutting.
Yeah. That's what happened, and because of that Streisand effect, it was actually bigger and better than ever before. It was fantastic. So
really, no, hang on. That reminds me of the RNLI effect.
Yes.
I think when they suddenly had a massive influx of donations because Nigel Farage just didn't want them picking up refugees and asylum seekers. Did them the world a good. Did them the world a good. But no, that's great. It's great.
Absolutely. Well, listen, we're going to wrap up in a few minutes. But before we go, are there any mad stories, any stories of the week that haven't really been picked up on? Like, I don't know, a farmer in the Lake District throwing shit all over cars that were parked on his field. Anything like that? Anything?
To be honest, I'm still hung up on the bricks in the car park. That's kind of blown anything else out of the water for me personally.
So where was this? Is this in Worcester?
That was somewhere in Worcester or Worcestershire. I'm still trying to get some of the details nailed down. But
Ben, there's another party apart from Refuck. There's another one called like Restore.
I know this is what's his name?
They had a big Barney.
Rupert Lowe's party.
Rupert Lowe's party. Yeah. They had a Barney in a car park.
Yeah. It's
Restore.
It gets really, really deep. It gets really, really wild. The problem is it's trying to confirm the details because like everybody involved in this thing hates each other so much that you can't really sort of begin to unpick who hates each other more. Like it's hard to imagine a level-headed person thinking to themselves, yes, what I need to do with my life is I need to go to a Restore Britain meeting and have a sensible meeting with friendly folks. That's not generally how it goes down. Generally, it's people got either they've got a massive axe to grind on some particular issue and Rupert Lowe has managed to tickle them, or they're just completely mad.
But you know what, Edward? It's great because for the first time we can sit back and get the popcorn out while the far right vote is split. And I believe that in the Makersfield, whatever it's called, by-election,
Makerfield.
I believe they are polling at somewhere between 3% and 7%, which is enough to prevent Farage and that what's his name from getting in?
Robert Kenyon, the guy
Robert
who is
Kenyon.
So
he's
memorable.
Not doing well, is he?
He's been I mentioned this earlier. There's a piece of literature which I've been shown from Makerfield where it's all of this stuff about Nigel Farage and absolutely no mention of Robert Kenyon's name. He's just kind of there in the bottom right corner. No explanation.
This is the guy that said he wanted to sniff a part of Carol Vorderman's anatomy.
That guy.
Classy. Classy. That's an interesting pitch, isn't it, for your election campaign?
Truly. I mean, the pitch seems to be, well, he's a normal bloke saying normal bloke things. It's like, no.
Locker room banter.
Yes.
That's how they've phrased it. That's how they've pitched this. It's locker room banter, apparently.
And it's like, I'm sorry, but it's like...
locker rooms here. This is the United Kingdom.
There's an element, there's a part of me that thinks if they learned the fact that you can acknowledge you've done something wrong, apologize and move on from it and actually behave differently, they could probably rehabilitate some of these people, but they're not attempting to do that. Instead of apologizing, they just dig in deeper because I think on some level they know if they start repudiating the bigotry, they lose the bigoted vote. And then but then if they're counting on marrying up the bigot vote versus actually people who aren't bigoted at all and just are concerned about economic issues or think like there are people who are concerned about immigration but don't necessarily hate the people who are coming here. And if you're trying to appeal to them at the same time, this isn't helping. This really isn't helping.
I can't work this out. I'll Restore Britain for the ultra racists or the not quite as racist as Reform. I mean,
for the ultra racists who are
right.
I think that, and then there's Advance, which is even worse or something.
Advance.
I had a
There's another
Restore
one.
photo come on my Facebook, today. He had a little Union Jack avatar, 4 friends. So I don't know if they're a real person or not. I doubt they are. But they responded to me posting a few pictures from Pride yesterday with the words fucking cook, spelled C-U-C-K, to which I said, that's an oxymoron, isn't it?
There's a lot of them like that. I mean, some of the stuff that I get in comments. I mean, I did a piece on. Is
it usually a flag man? Is it like a flag?
Honestly,
why is a flag swearing at me?
they've got a Union Jack profile, or they've got some kind of slogan in there, or they've got pictures of their children or their pets because they don't want to show their faces. So previously it was more sort of like poppies and things like that, because there's nothing quite like desecrating war memorials for the far right, is there? But they don't like showing their own faces, and the handful that do, it's sort of it's middle-aged men at a significant distance from camera, and it's like, and then they go on and they say how ugly you are in various ways, and it's like.
That's what I was thinking though. Like, at least you don't have to, because if you did have to see them, do you know what I mean? And they're kind of doing us a service. I mean, it's either that or wear a bucket on their heads.
No, so. It's not wanting to stand up and be counted. They don't really want to put their faces to the things that they say and think.
Yeah, because in a few years' time, they might be running as a refuck MP in Makerfield, and it'll come back and haunt them.
Well, I mean, or you could be appointed mayor of Redditch and get found out for having a social media profile with over 400,000 posts on it over the course of 15 years, which averages out at about 80 a day. That's normal. That's normal.
Cool and normal.
Well, speaking of normal, I mean, the one crazy story that I'm wondering whether is real or not this week, I'd like some confirmation from one of you guys, is the story of Donald Trump disappearing behind a pillar for a few minutes and having some kind of incontinence issues. Now, I'm not sure whether the video I saw had those noises edited and over the top. They were extreme, but there were definitely some strange reactions from the people around him, as if, this is what he does. He hides behind a pillar and he lets his bowels go, and then he reappeared again. Apparently, he's claimed that his doctor has put him in absolute prime epitome of health. There's nothing wrong with him whatsoever. So I'm just wondering whether that footage is real or not. Is that
from a few days ago?
It's from a couple of days ago. Yeah, there's
It looks like, I'm just looking at Snopes, it suggests there's no proof. However, I think given I don't like being disrespectful, because there are men who have continence issues, and having pads isn't something to be ashamed of. I think the only reason this is in any way funny or in any way interesting or remarkable is because Trump himself has made such a thing of his perfect health and had such a go at other people that he's kind of made himself fair game by dint of being awful.
He aces all the cognitive reasoning tests.
But for someone. But clearly, I mean, it looks very much like he's wearing pads. It very, very much does look like he's wearing pads. And again, like there are men who need to wear pads. Boys need bins and all of that. But I think that nonetheless, like Trump claiming to be the picture of perfect health is looking incredibly wobbly as a storyline. It really is.
He's he's a little bit of a nightmare, isn't he, old?
Well, I mean, it's a very normal thing to demolish a large part of the White House and then replace another large part of the White House with a wrestling ring. I mean, I think
paint the bottom of the reflecting pool with some shit paint from B&Q, that doesn't actually.
If people had said, I mean, I think it's the sort of thing that people in parodies were saying would happen. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if you went back, when Stephen Colbert was running the show before they cancelled him, and when they still had the cartoon segments, I think My Cartoon President, I feel like it could have happened in that, where they did something mad like this. But, it's happening in real life. He's actually gone and done it. And
it's like, gone and bloody done it.
He's blown the bloody doors off. But I hear that he's not going to get this ballroom built. Is that right?
Not. Of
no,
course not.
It's been blocked. Legal. And also the money that he's going to give to his rioters, the people who stamped on police officers' heads.
Oh, the £1 billion fund.
On the
$1 billion fund.
Oh, come on. Gentlemen,
January
please.
6th.
If you think that money is going to go, all of that money is going to go to the rioters, then you've got to be joking. I mean, he's going to trouser some of it.
Absolutely. But he'll dangle it in front of them he's
been traumatized, you see. He had the 2020 election stolen from him and all of that. He need some compensation for the very serious emotional harm that it took on him to have to watch his supporters go to prison for him.
Yeah. Someone's mentioned Idiocracy, which is funny because Idiocracy is set 500 years in the future, and it's actually happened 20 years in the future. It did not take 500 years to get to this point where they're doing a UFC wrestling event. Did anyone see the steroid Olympics this week? Did anyone drop in on the steroid Olympics?
What's that?
Oh, I did hear about that. Yeah,
so it was an event in Las Vegas, where else? And essentially, it was allowing the participants to take all the steroids that they liked, all the performance enhancing drugs that they liked. It was being sponsored by drugs companies who produced the performance enhancing drugs, and they said, "Oh, look, world records are gonna be shattered." And the reality was, there was only one world record that was beaten, and that was a swimming race that was beaten by the world record was beaten by 1/600th of a second, and that's probably because the guy who was swimming was wearing a swimsuit that's actually banned. So he's wearing a banned swimsuit. He had taken banned substances, and he only managed to shave off 1/600th.
Okay, I get the banned substances, but just explain to me why a swimsuit might be banned. What can be advantageous about a certain swimsuit?
There are materials that have less friction in the water and can give you, like, if you cover different parts of the surface area of the body in certain ways, like, it means that you can swim with slightly less drag, and that can provide you with a noticeable advantage.
Maybe I had no idea. Why would that be a banned swimsuit? I mean, that sounds common sense to me.
Because basically they don't want materials engineering to become the nature of the competition. Like, otherwise you end up like with Formula swimmers being like Formula One, where it's just the quality of the engine and the car and the suspension, rather than the actual person who is the athlete. And I think
some of the drivers might take issue with that, but I'm not sure I'd call any of them athletes anyway.
I'm not going to start a Formula One row here, but it is. It was very telling. But one of the things that they talk about is these people who take these steroids, there's a good chance they become infertile from doing it. And yet all the people who are freaking out that, like, trans people might not be able to have kids if you allow them to go. And it's like, well, what about these fucking athletes who are taking all these injections? And it's the same people who are like, oh, we don't want these people with an unfair advantage taking part in sports events. And then the enhanced games takes place. And they're like, oh, wow, an unfair advantage. Yeah, whoever's got more money, whoever's got the more backing, they should win.
Well, look, it's a well-established fact in America that the Venn diagram of people who want to abolish abortion rights but also want no gun controls of any kind is practically a circle.
Yes, that's
like
very true.
They're fine with the idea of killing as long as it happens post-birth, but they have a major problem with birth control of any kind.
Yeah. Because they might want to go out and kill someone one day, and most of the people who complain about abortions are men, so they'll never have to worry about ever having one.
Yeah, there's an awful lot of there's just prejudice on top of prejudice, and sort of like building this weird hierarchy of suffering.
Yeah, that's very true. Which is, that I think the hierarchy of suffering is the new name we should give to the United States of America.
It would make a good name for a metal band, Hierarchy of Suffering.
it would indeed. It would indeed. Anyway, we're gonna have to wrap it up there because it's past 10 o'clock, and I did promise that we would be finished for 10 o'clock. Sorry, I always tend to run over a little bit. I'll be back at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning with the old morning brew. And at 1 o'clock tomorrow, I should be starting a new series called Graham Hughes Rights Some Wrongs. And it's going to be me writing my next book, my follow-up to Man of the World, in real time. You'll be able to watch me write it so I can prove that it's not AI. It's actually me writing the damn thing and actually get off my arse and actually write the thing. Anyway, so thank you very much to Ben Chambers and to Ed Kimberley for coming on the show tonight, and everyone else who joined us throughout the evening. Very entertaining. Hey, and onwards and upwards. And next month, June, we've got the local election, the by-election, in Makerfield to look forward to. That's going to be squeaky bum time. And then that's on the 18th. On the 20th, we've got the march in London that everyone's invited to. Where are we meeting at 12 o'clock, Ben?
12 o'clock. I believe it will be somewhere on Park Lane, but there'll be a big bunch of people. It'll be fairly obvious. All the details are at www.marchforrejoin.co.uk. The route's there. The crowdfunder's still there. I believe it's still live, but any excess money will be spent on promotions. So thank you to everyone that's given.
Okay, well, thanks to everyone, and thanks to everyone for watching. Thanks to everyone who dropped in a super chat. That's very kind of you. If you would like to give us a like, we always like a like on this channel. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe, and then you can join in with the chat. If you are subscribed, hit the bell notification icon for when we are going live. And until next time, I'll say thanks for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye. Bye.